Good evening. Most of the students have joined. So we shall begin with our topic from paper number 12, analytical chemistry. In this topic, we are going to deal with the theory of gravimetric analysis. The practical part that we have already covered in the laboratory, the theoretical part that we are going to deal with this topic. In this topic, we are going to study some important terminologies such as definition of qualitative and quantitative analysis. We are going to study the definitions of important terms such as precipitation, precipitant, precipitating reagent, aging, precipitate, nucleation, etc. Then we are going to study the characteristic features which are associated with the precipitate that we are going to study. Then we are going to study the conditions of precipitation or conditions of formation of a precipitate. We are going to study again what is the process of nucleation that leads to formation of a flocculent mass, that is a precipitate. Then we are going to study the process of digestion. Also in this topic, we are going to deal with the use of organic precipitants such as DMG, what we call as dimethylglycine, and 8-hydroxyquinoline, what is known as oxine. And also we are going to study the definitions of co-precipitation and post-precipitation. So this much part that we are going to cover today. So as we know that in this topic, the gravimetric analysis is a process of quantitative analysis where we are concerned with the weight, volume, or the mass. So gravimetric analysis is the process of quantitative analysis, and the process of qualitative analysis is nothing but, as we have mentioned, that organic spotting is the best known example of qualitative analysis where the sample under analysis, that is analyzed qualitatively, we know. Now, we are going to study what is the definition of gravimetry. Gravimetry can be defined as it is a quantitative analysis based upon the measurement of the mass of the substance. So here we are measuring the mass, that is weight of a substance, which is under analysis. For example, we have carried out one experiment of barium gravimetric where we are going to calculate the mass, that is weight, which is obtained after ignition. So this is a gravimetric analysis, which is a process of quantitative analysis where we are concerned with the mass or the weight of the substance. The second terminology that is known as a precipitation. We know precipitation is nothing but it is a process. So precipitation is nothing but it is a chemical process causing the substance to get separated from the solution in the form of insoluble solid. It is known as a precipitation. So precipitation is nothing but it is a process of separation of insoluble solid from the solution is known as a precipitation. Then the word precipitant, we know in some gravimetric estimations, due to addition of a substance, the precipitation occurs. For example, in barium gravimetric, due to addition of sulfuric acid, a white flocculent precipitate is obtained. So because of addition of sulfuric acid, as the precipitation takes place, hence it is known as a precipitant or precipitating reagent, both meaning the same. So precipitant is nothing but the substance which brings about the formation of precipitate. Next terminology is ignition. Ignition is nothing but the thermal decomposition of substance which leads to a constant mass of a precipitate at elevated temperature is known as ignition. So it is a process of heating the precipitate which is already formed to a temperature of about 700 to 1100 degrees centigrade. After heating, the precipitate which remains, that is known as the residue. So it is a thermal decomposition of the precipitate. Then the process of aging. Aging is nothing but it is also known as a digestion or Oswald's ripening. Here, the aging of a precipitate with the passage of time, that means we have to heat the precipitate for a longer time, it is termed as a aging of precipitate. In contact with mother liquor, if we heat the precipitate, then the precipitate particles they form bigger aggregates and they settle down. This is known as the aging or digestion. We have carried out this aging process also. Then the process of coagulation. Coagulation, it is a process of solidification, that means formation of a solid from a solid to gelatinous mass is known as a coagulation. Another terminology is a peptidization. Peptidization is exactly a reverse process of coagulation. So breakdown of coagulated particles into smaller particles is known as a peptidization. The last terminology that we are going to study is a nucleation. Nucleation is again, it is a process, that is a formation of a initial form of the precipitate or formation of a crystal nuclei of the precipitate which is going to be formed. So nucleation, it is an initial step of passing from the saturated solution to supersaturated solution to saturated stage in the precipitation. This process is known as a nucleation process. In other words, the process of joining of at least 4 to 5 ions of adjacent molecules so as to form a bigger aggregate is known as the process of nucleation. We have carried out the experiment of barium gravimetric, where if we add 1 drop of sulfuric acid, hot sulfuric acid, then first of all, the SO4 ions from sulfuric acid combines with very few ions of barium so as to form the crystal nuclei. So this is known as the formation of nuclei of barium sulfate. Later on, further addition of precipitant or precipitating reagent that increases the size, and hence we obtain the precipitate in a quantitative manner. So these are the different terms, that is gravimetry, precipitation, precipitant, ignition, aging, coagulation, peptidization, and the nucleation. Now we are going to study what are the characteristics of this precipitation process. First characteristic of precipitation process is that the precipitate should have very low solubility, because of which the losses during the precipitation can be avoided. What is the meaning of low solubility? Low solubility means after the formation of a precipitate, that precipitate should remain chemically stable. It should not redissolve in the mother liquor. So the losses that can be avoided. So this is the first very important characteristic of precipitate is a low solubility. Second is the precipitate particles should be coarse and granular. We have seen today that after the addition of sulfuric acid, a granular form of precipitate that is obtained after digestion. So because of the formation of a coarse and granular form of precipitate, the precipitate is free from contaminants, that is impurities. The third is the precipitate should be easily filtered. This is very important characteristic. Otherwise, one cannot separate the solid part of precipitate from its mother liquor. So, very important characteristic. The precipitate should be filtered easily. Fourth, this is also very important, that the precipitate thus obtained should be weighed very easily. So, it should be very easily weighable form. That means the solid part of precipitate after ignition, we should weigh it very easily. Then after ignition, the weighed form of a precipitate should have the same chemical composition before and after its ignition. This is also very important. So after complete ignition, the weighed form of a precipitate should have the stable chemical composition. The chemical composition should not change. And the sixth characteristic is that the weighed form of a precipitate should be chemically stable. That means after ignition, the weighed form should not change its composition when it comes in contact with atmospheric air. So these are the some characteristic features. So in conclusion, I would like to say that in gravimetric analysis, the compound should be properly chosen to have effective precipitation. The compound should be effectively or properly chosen, and the precipitation must be carried out under suitably favorable conditions or suitably controlled conditions so that the precipitate is easily formed. Now, with these characteristic features of precipitate, we shall move further with the conditions of precipitation. So what are the conditions? Those are required for effective precipitation. To separate the solid from the solution in the form of a precipitate, a dense, coarse, granular, and crystalline mass of a pure substance that is obtained as far as possible. In precipitation, if precipitation is carried out under controlled conditions or specified conditions, such optimized conditions are applicable to all precipitation processes. So, to have effective precipitation, one should have maintain certain conditions. The first condition is that precipitation should be carried out in hot condition. This is the first condition. Today we have seen that we have heated the solution to boiling, and after heating we have carried out the process of precipitation. So the solution should be hot. This is the first condition. Second, the precipitation should be carried out in dilute solutions. We know after pipetting out 50 ml of the diluted solution, we have again added 100 ml distilled water so as to make the solution again dilute. So from the diluted solution, effective precipitation can be obtained. So second condition is that the dilute solution that minimize the errors. First condition is that solution should be hot. Second, the precipitation should be carried out in hot dilute solutions. Third, the precipitant or precipitating reagent that is added, which is very slowly. One should not add the precipitating reagent in a bulk quantity. We have to add the precipitating reagent in a dropwise sense with vigorous stirring, so that ensures complete precipitation. Fourth condition is that precipitation should be carried out by using a suitable agent. Suitable agent means that agent should bring about the effective precipitation. Say for example, in barium gravimetric, instead of sulfuric acid, if we use some another acid, for example HCl, then no effective precipitation is possible. So precipitating agent should be chosen in a such a way that it should quantitatively precipitate the desired ions from the solution. Then the precipitant that is added should be added in slight excess. For example, today we have added 1 test tube of sulfuric acid. The solution that is required, it is nearly about 10 ml, but we have added 15 ml of sulfuric acid so as to ensure complete precipitation. So according to this gravimetric analysis, the precipitant should be added in excess. So excess addition of precipitate ensures complete precipitation. Then seventh is that precipitation is followed by digestion. Otherwise the precipitate may not be stable. So digestion is nothing but it is a maturing of the precipitate. Seventh, next condition is that the precipitate thus obtained should be washed thoroughly with the help of an electrolyte or with the help of a water. Just now, today we have washed the precipitate with the help of water. While carrying out iron gravimetric estimation, we have to use electrolyte. So a common terminology that is used, the precipitant should be washed either with electrolyte or with hot distilled water. So they remove the impurities which are present in the solution. Now we are going to study next aspect is the formation of a precipitate with the help of a process that is known as the nucleation process. So what is a nucleation? In brief, nucleation is nothing but it is the formation of the crystal nuclei is known as a nucleation. So it can be defined as the process whereby some uniform number of ions, atoms or molecules, they unite to form the smallest nuclei to form the solid part is known as the nucleation. So here 4 to 5 nuclei of barium ions, they combine with sulfate ions from the precipitating reagent and they can form a bigger form of the precipitate. So in simpler terms, the process of precipitation can be shown as like this. Say for example, initially we are having the ions which are together in the solution. When the ions are together in solution, due to addition of precipitating reagent, they can form ion pairs. What are the ion pairs? For example, barium ions and sulfate ions. These are formed as ion pairs. Then these ion pairs form the ion clusters. That means they can form a cluster of BaSO4 and these ion clusters, they form a critical size. That means due to further addition of the precipitating reagent, they grow in size and after this we can form the precipitate in a quantitative manner. So these are the certain steps those are to be followed in nucleation. So in brief, nucleation is nothing but it is a formation of crystal nuclei is known as the nucleation. In simpler terms, we can also represent that X and X, these are the oppositely charged ions, they can form X2. Then X plus X2, they form X3, ion clusters are formed. And Xn number of molecules, when they unite, they can form Xn. So formation of a bigger portion that is known as the precipitation. So here, this is how the formation of crystal nuclei taking place. Now, after the precipitation, as per the condition of precipitation, we know that digestion is also equally important. So what is the digestion process, which is known as the aging of the precipitate, which is known as the Oswald's ripening process. So digestion or aging or Oswald's ripening is nothing but we have to just increase the particle size of the precipitate, that is known as a maturing of the precipitate. So it can be defined as the process of heating the precipitate in contact with mother liquor at elevated temperature, that means at higher temperatures without stirring, because here should be taken that precipitate should not be stirred, otherwise the particles may not coagulate. So today we have also carried out this process where by keeping the beaker in water bath, we have not stirred the solution. So the solution should be kept steady. Then this gives the product with an improved crystal size. So initially the crystal size were in not mature, but after digestion we have obtained a improved crystal lattice purity and the particle size and the filterability of the particles of the precipitate that is also increased. Now, what are the advantages of this digestion? We have carried out the process of digestion. First advantage is that the smaller particles, they get dissolved and they get redeposited so as to form the larger particles. So smaller particles, they unite to form larger particles. This is first advantage. Secondly, the surface area that decreases, thus decreasing the surface adsorption, because if suppose for example this is a surface area of barium sulfate precipitate, if this surface area is larger, then there is a possibility that large surface area may adsorb certain impurity from the solution. So smaller surface area that minimizes the errors or the contamination. Third is that the particle size of precipitate, the particle size of precipitate, that is increases as a result of this digestion. And next is as a large crystalline aggregates are obtained, then the filtration becomes very easier. So the precipitate becomes easily filtrable form. So these are the advantages of the digestion process. So due to digestion, the adjacent particles become again adjoined to form a bigger aggregates, and that brings the precipitate into easily filtrable form. Now, what are the physical forms of precipitate? One should know, because sometimes a long question may be asked, what are the physical forms of precipitate, or discuss the physical forms. There are three different types of physical forms. First form, that is known as the crystalline form of precipitate. Second is known as curdy precipitate, and third is known as the gelatinous form of precipitate. So what are these crystalline, curdy and gelatinous form of precipitate? Today we have obtained barium sulfate as a precipitate. It is in the form of a crystalline form. So such type of precipitate are having a largest size. So the size is very large, which is in the range of 10 raised to minus 6 to 10 raised to minus 5 meters. So these are relatively pure and easy to filter. So the crystal structure of such precipitates is quite visible to eye. Just now we have seen today that this precipitate is very easily visible to eye. The second type is known as a curdy precipitate. Curdy precipitates are those which are formed as a colloidal suspension. This is very important. These are formed as a colloidal suspension, the particle size of which is curdy precipitate is smaller than the crystalline precipitate. So this form of precipitate is having very small size as compared to crystalline form of precipitate. So if we want to show, then we can show a curdy precipitate like this. It is somewhat the curd that is obtained by using milk. So this is known as a curdy precipitate. Here, these since the particles are very small enough, they do not pass through the ordinary filter paper. So this is about the curdy precipitate. The third is known as a gelatinous precipitate. We have also obtained this gelatinous precipitate today, because when ammonia or ammonium hydroxide that is added, that can precipitate this iron in the form of ferric hydroxide. So this form of precipitate, which appears to be very bigger in size, that is known as the gelatinous form of precipitate. So gelatinous form of precipitate, that is a third A under semi-microqualitative analysis, the third A group of semi-microqualitative analysis that can form such types of precipitate, that is known as a gelatinous form of precipitate. These precipitates, they carry indefinite amount of water, hence they are always big in size. These are the three different types of precipitate. Now, the next part, that is known as, there are two phenomena they are taking place. that is known as the co-precipitation and post-precipitation. Here, my watch is showing that 10 minutes are left. So after completion of this 10 minutes, we have to rejoin. Then we are again going to continue for about 10 to 15 minutes. That will end up this topic. So there are two different phenomena also takes place. So this is known as co-precipitation and post-precipitation. What are these terminologies that is known as a co-precipitation and post-precipitation? Co-precipitation is nothing but it is a simultaneous precipitation of other ions which are present, and post-precipitation means the formation of precipitate after the formation of main precipitate. It is just like, suppose if you complete your BSc degree, it is known as a graduation. If you opt for MSc, this is known as a post-graduation. Post-graduation means after graduation, you have to perform a post-graduation. Similarly, here, formation of a main precipitate. After the formation of a main precipitate, again precipitation of impurities takes place simultaneously. After the formation of main precipitation, it is known as a post-precipitation. So, co-precipitation, it is nothing but it is a process by which soluble impurities become incorporated. That means whatever soluble impurities are there, those gets mixed with the main precipitate. Say for example, today we have seen that barium sulfate precipitate where the chloride impurities, those are incorporated. This process is known as a co-precipitation. So precipitation of impurities along with the precipitate, that is known as a co-precipitation. Now, the second terminology that is known as a post-precipitation. Post-precipitation, it is nothing but the precipitation which occurs on the surface of primary precipitate. So, when the primary precipitate is formed, this is a primary precipitate, for example, above which again impurities also get adsorbed or they get precipitated. That is the formation of a main precipitate. Along with the formation of this precipitate, other impurities they also incorporate. After the formation of main precipitate is known as a post precipitation. So it occurs with sparingly soluble substances which form supersaturated solutions. Usually they have an ion common with the primary precipitate. Thus, in the precipitation of calcium in the form of calcium oxalate, in the presence of magnesium, here magnesium oxalate that is formed as a post precipitate. So this is how the precipitation of impurity those also takes place. So here these two ions they are common and hence such post precipitation takes place. Now if we want to point out the points of distinction between co-precipitation and post precipitation, then here I would like to mention few points: co-precipitation and post precipitation. Now, the first point under co-precipitation is the process by which the soluble impurities become incorporated. The soluble impurities, those are incorporated along with the main precipitate. Here is the precipitate which takes place on the surface. Here, the precipitation takes place on the surface of the primary precipitate after the formation of a main precipitate. The second point of difference is that the errors due to co-precipitation are very less. Second point under post-precipitation, here the errors or the addition of impurities are comparatively more in case of post-precipitation. The third point is that the decrease in temperature The decrease in temperature decreases the process of co-precipitation. That means the contamination can be decreased by decreasing the temperature. But the case is not true here. Increase in temperature may have adverse effect. That means they can increase the possibility of addition of impurities with the main precipitate. Fourth point of difference is that co-precipitation decreases, this process decreases rapidly the solution by stirring. If we want to decrease the contamination by co-precipitation, then we have to stir the solution vigorously. Here, in post-precipitation, the contamination increases the faster the solution stirred. That means here, if post-precipitation took place, then due to stirring of the solution, that increases the contamination of impurities, but here that decreases the contamination. And the last point, the time of contact between the primary precipitate, that is the main precipitate, the time of contact of primary precipitate with mother liquor, that may decrease the formation of co-precipitation. Today we have seen that in case of this barium chloride, we have added sulfuric acid. Here this barium combines with sulfate ion to form this barium sulfate, and twice HCl is a mother liquor. So this mother liquor we have tested for chlorine. We have added silver nitrate for the removal of this chlorine. And fifth point here, the time of contact between primary precipitate and the mother liquor, that increases the process of post precipitation. So this indicates that one should not keep the precipitate in contact with mother liquor for a very long period of time. So this is how, these are some points of interest from the co-precipitation and the post precipitation. So here again I am showing that only 2 to 3 minutes are left. So you have to again rejoin by clicking the same link. Then we shall complete only one point that is remaining, that is organic precipitants. So I am ending this meeting. You have to rejoin by clicking the same link.